Hello friends, welcome to Class 10 History, Chapter 7, Print Culture and the Modern World. Printing, or the process of reproducing text, images and data, has a long history behind it. Print culture is the accumulation of effects on human society that is created by making printed forms of communication. Although the print media is passing through changing time and there is a speedy growth of social and electronic media, the growth of printing media is not reduced and it has been growing since the invention of printing press. In this chapter, we are going to learn two areas, and they are development of print from its beginning in East Asia to its expansion in Europe and in India. Then we will discuss about the impact of technology on print culture and the influence of print culture in social lives and cultures. As you know, there are different forms of prints. In our day-to-day life, we come across books, journals, newspapers, official circulars, calendars, diaries, advertisements, cinema posters, etc. In addition, there are printed images, newspapers, and track public debates that appear in print. Now, let's discuss about the first printed books. The earliest kind of print technology was developed in China, then in Japan, and it reached Korea. This was a system of hand printing. From AD 594 onwards, books in China were printed by rubbing paper against the inked surface of wood blocks. Later in China, calligraphy was developed, and it is the art of beautiful and stylized writing. By the 17th century, reading increasingly became a leisure activity. Rich women began to read, and many of them published their poetry and plays. This new reading culture was accompanied by a new technology. Now, let's discuss about how printing reached Japan. In the second half of 8th century, that is between 768 and 770 AD, Buddhist missionaries from China introduced hand printing technology into Japan. The oldest Japanese book was the Buddhist Diamond Sutra, which was printed in AD 868, and it contained 6 sheets of text and woodcut illustration. In addition, printing of visual material led to interesting publishing practices. Subsequently, libraries and bookstores were packed with hand-printed material of various types. Now, let's discuss about the second main topic of the chapter. Prints come to Europe. For many centuries, silk and spices from China flowed into Europe through the Silk Route. In fact, Silk Route was trade route. In the 11th century, Chinese paper reached Europe through the same route. In AD 1295, Marco Polo, a great explorer, returned to Italy after many years of exploration in China. He learnt about the wood block printing from China, which he brought to Italy. Italians began producing books with wood blocks, and soon the technology spread to other parts of Europe. As the demand for books increased, booksellers all over Europe began exploring books to many different countries. Book fairs were held at different places. Scribes or skilled handwriters were employed by wealthy or influential patrons and by booksellers as well. By the early 15th century, wood blocks were being widely used in Europe to print textiles, playing cards, and religious pictures with simple, brief texts. There was clearly a great need for even quicker and cheaper reproduction of text. This could only be with the invention of a new print technology. During the later half of 15th century in Germany, Johannes Gutenberg introduced a new printing press, which was one of the remarkable inventions of that time, and the first book printed by him was the Bible. He was basically a goldsmith, and he learnt mechanical movable type of printing and started the printing revolution in Europe. In the 100 years between 1450 and 1550 AD, printing presses were set up in most of the countries in Europe. The second half of the 15th century saw 20 million copies of printed books flooding the markets of Europe. The number went up in the 16th century to about 200 million copies. Now, let's move on to the third main topic, print revolution and its impact. Print revolution was not just a development or a new way of producing books, but it transformed the lives of people, changing their relationship to information and knowledge and with institutions and authorities. It influenced popular perceptions and opened up new dimensions of looking at things. As an impact, there emerged a new reading public. Earlier, reading was restricted to the elites. Common people lived in a world of oral culture, and the rates of literacy in most European countries were very low till the 20th century. Subsequently, printing in bulk quantity reduced the cost of books because the time and labor required to produce the books reduced, and they could print multiple copies very easily. As a result, books could reach out to wider sections of people. If earlier there was a hearing public, now a reading public came into being. Now let's discuss about the religious debates and the fear of print. Print created the possibility of wide circulation of ideas and introduced a new world of debate and discussion. In 1517, the religious reformer Martin Luther wrote 95 theses criticizing many of the practices and rituals of the Roman Catholic Church. This led to a division within the church and to the beginning of the Protestant Reformation. Deeply grateful to print, Martin Luther said, "Printing is the ultimate gift of God and the greatest one." Now let's study about print and dissent. Print and popular religious literature stimulated many distinctive individual interpretations of faith even among little educated working class people. Manocchio, a miller in Italy, began to read books that were available in his locality. He reinterpreted the message of Bible and formulated a view of God and creation that enraged the Roman Catholic Church. The church began its inquisition to repress heretical ideas, which were the ideas against the church, and the religious preachers were punished. As a result, Manocchio was executed.